Nakuru, Kenya.
Omaha, Nebraska.
Detroit, Michigan.
I'm from Addis Ababa, Ethiopia.
Somerville, Massachusetts.
Manhattan.
Poplar, Montana.
Havana, Cuba.
Cambridge, Massachusetts.
Maryville, Tennessee.
Montreal, Canada.
Fairfield, Connecticut.
Students from all 50 of the United States and over 100 countries.
Yeongju, South Korea. Baghdad, Iraq.
Pretoria, South Africa.
Newberry, Ohio.
Roseau, Dominica.
All living, learning, and growing together in the one place they all call home.
Harvard.
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 I was totally at sea. I went up to the newspaper vendor and politely asked him, where's Harvard at? He said, you're there, young man. Go and see that gate over there and walk through there. I said, okay. I met some wonderful teachers. The one who meant the most to me was William Alfred. A chance to go to William Alfred's house 3 times a week for 2 years in a row. Miraculous teacher. You'll find many characters like that around here. People who don't bother to apply because they think they're not wealthy enough or famous enough or smart enough or have a good enough record or, did I say wealthy enough? That's certainly a mistake. If a kid doesn't have enough money to go here, we're just going to give it to you. It's that simple. The place started as a divinity school, and there's certain aspects of that survive to this day. It's a seriously humanistic institution.
Harvard is filled with tradition. And one of the longest running traditions is athletic excellence. Intercollegiate sports started at Harvard. And the first sport was rowing. I grew up a cowgirl. Not the kind that wears rhinestones. The kind that gets up at 5 a.m. to milk them. I still get up early, but now it's to row. I know it's corny, but every time that I row under this bridge, I think of all the generations of rowers who have done the same. Champions, teammates, and sweaty cowgirls.
I share a common experience with a lot of kids. When I first arrived at Harvard, I thought they made a mistake. I'm obviously not meant to be here. Everybody is smarter. And the truth of the matter is, everybody is smarter. and that's something that is a wonderful thing to be able to accept. Then I had some teachers come up to me, Louise Viskirchen. She said, you know, you play pretty well, but you would be so much better if you knew what you were doing. I went from being a somewhat neurotic instrumentalist to having the tools to look at any piece of music from anywhere. For me, that was probably one of the greatest gifts that anybody has ever given me. I think what makes Harvard special is the passion of the student body, the teachers, and the administrators. Meeting fellow undergraduates was probably even more important than any course that I may have taken. The 4 years I spent at Harvard gave me the tools to deal with life in any form that you might encounter. It's a fabulous foundation for life.
I was ecstatic, of course. My mother was in tears, and my father happened to be at work, and I called him and I told him, Dad, I got into Harvard. And he's like, that's great, mija. That's really good. All he knew was that it was on the other side of the country and he didn't want me to go. Marinero, marinero. I got here and I heard there was a mariachi at Harvard. I couldn't believe it. He was amazed. He was just like, really, mija? I can't believe it. You're gonna be part of a mariachi. Mija, you have to learn this song for me. Make sure that when you come back, I can hear you sing this song. Maybe he is a little bit proud of me, but more than anything, it makes me happy that it makes him happy. Learning about my culture, being something that makes my family proud, and making new friends. I think all of it together is what makes mariachi great.
My name is Kit Parker. I'm an infantry captain in the United States Army Reserve components. And when I'm not jumping out of airplanes and running around leading troops, I'm a professor at Harvard, professor of biomedical engineering.
He's like, move, get it done, get it there.
I had a 5-man team, and they were all very accomplished soldiers, NCOs.
Make sure no one is lagging behind, make sure everyone knows what they're doing.
When you start to work together as a team, you become almost like a single organism. If you're in a dangerous situation, a quick look between people who've been working together for some time, and you know exactly what they're thinking, which way they're going to go, which way you're going to go. There's actually more things in common with being an Army leader, Army officer, and being a professor at Harvard than most people would think. And that's because the people you work with, you have high achievers in 82nd Airborne, someone who's willing to jump out of a plane, and then you get to Harvard. They're both pushing really, really hard to expand their capabilities, to kind of push the limit. And those are the kinds of people that usually achieve great things, and those are the kinds of people I like to keep company with.
He said, why don't you just come over to the coffee shop and we'll chat? And I was like, so you want me to chat with you and then we'll go to your office and talk? It was like, no, we're going to talk at the coffee shop.
The same way you build a team, or you build a unit, or you build cohesion within a unit, you build mission capabilities in the military, you do the same thing with a research group.
He asked me how my family is doing, how I'm adjusting to life at Harvard. And then he bought me tea and a croissant.
You do a crawl, walk, run type of training. We do this in the military, we do it here in this laboratory. They see one, they do one, and then they teach one. That undergraduate will watch it. Eventually they will do it themselves, and then later on they'll fly solo.
And he's always there for us. Like, if he told me that, like, Rosa, if you're stuck and frustrated, just give me a call on my cell phone.
Every Thanksgiving, my wife and I cook turducken.
He'll invite all the lab over to his house for Thanksgiving.
If you know what turducken is, you take a chicken, you stuff it into a duck, you take the duck, you stuff it into a turkey. It takes about 9 to 10 hours to cook it, but I don't know if the students like it or not, but they come back every year. So I don't know where this idea of being in a big impersonal place is, because I've never seen it. That's a Harvard I don't know.
He cares about you as an entire person, not just a person who works in the lab. So I definitely really understand when he talks about not leaving any man behind.
I live 100 meters off this campus. I'm over here every night or early in the morning. I've got a little bit of a training on how to get in and out of places without being detected.
It's just a great way to run a lab, and it keeps us in line, definitely. And we are always on our toes, Yeah.
We try to use alternate percussion equipment, not your standard mallets and timpanis, but cups, buckets, brooms, glassware. So it's really like on the street, kind of stomp style, but our own Harvard version.
We do several events with the Harvard Automotive Society, everything from racing go-karts at indoor and outdoor tracks.
Actually, the hardest trick to learn in yo-yo, I think, is one of the most basic, which is speeding up.
Gumboots is really shaped by its background, its history, and it's all about representing the experience of gold miners in South Africa.
I sing in the Glee Club.
At the dinner table, my parents would have to take away the forks and knives from me, so I would stop playing on my plate. But now that I'm in Thud at college, I get to play with forks and knives and people clap.
They're actual racing carts, so they can hit between 40 to 50 miles per hour.
I knew I was going to come here and play music. I had no idea I would come here and do Chinese yo-yo.
I did not expect to find gumboots at Harvard, actually. I mean, when I think of Harvard, you think of academia and just high Nobel Prize laureate achievers and stuff. So I was actually quite surprised and very happy because it gave me an avenue to express my heritage.
We're a small club, so we all get to know each other really well, and they're some of my best friends in college.
There's the Glee Club, the Collegium Musicum, the Radcliffe Choral Society, the Harvard Radcliffe Chorus, the University Choir and the University Choral Fellows, the Early Music Society, the Harvard Radcliffe Dramatic Club, the Dunster House Opera, the Lowell House Opera. There's Vox Jazz, the Din and Tonics, the Crocodillos, a lot of a cappella groups. I think there are 13 a cappella groups. There's the dance team. There's ballroom dancing. There are little pickup groups that do theatrical productions everywhere. There's the Adams House Drama Society, the Leverett House Drama Society, the Currier House Musical, and the Cabot House Musical. There's the American Repertory Theater where you can work or take classes. That's about all I can think of right now.
First knowledge I had of Harvard was the film Love Story, which was playing at Plaza Cinema in New Delhi. At that time, Indians went abroad only as master's students, never as undergraduates, to become often doctors or engineers or lawyers. There was no Indian I knew who crossed the ocean to become a filmmaker. And I was just waiting for the postman. And he came with this big envelope, which when you get a big envelope from a university, you know it's something. My father let me go at the age of 18, which is quite unusual for the youngest in the family, Indian family, middle-class family, to just suddenly say goodbye to your daughter, you know, crossing the ocean. And he let me go because, quote, the Kennedys went there. To which I just hung my head and left the room. And I was cheaper for my family in Harvard than I was in India, because they paid for everything. They paid for the ticket there. I figured out a winter coat fund. Somebody from Florida was always cold while he was at Harvard, an alum, and he left a winter coat fund for kids from the South. So I convinced them that the South included India. What I found at Harvard was a lot of people who were like shocked that they had come. Mostly Americans who had that impression because they were born with this myth of Harvard. You had to be self-motivated, and I was, I hope still am, and you could create your own path to some extent, but of course they demanded high rigor. I'm a good example of believing that one should just apply to Harvard, you know, because you have nothing to lose and everything to gain.
Since 1636, Harvard has educated John Adams, Ralph Waldo Emerson, Oliver Wendell Holmes, Henry James, Franklin Roosevelt, Helen Keller, John F. Kennedy, Bonnie Raitt, Yo-Yo Ma, and Brad Putnam, the son of a lobsterman, who didn't really expect to be accepted, but decided to apply anyway. A simple but wise, life-changing decision for which Brad knows he will always be grateful.